Hi guys, Shiloh Colt here with a July wrap-up and contest announcement. I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who participated. It was awesome getting a chance to talk to you and answering some of your questions. Now the winner of the contest is Andrea T. Congrats, Andrea. I will be contacting you to mail you a signed copy of my book, Walk the Line. If you didn't win, don't worry because there will be a contest tomorrow. Thanks to all of you amazing viewers out there. I have 103 subscribers. Seriously, you guys, I cannot believe that many of you guys care what I have to say and that you're tuning in. It's really overwhelming. So thank you again. Be sure to tune in tomorrow because I will be doing another contest. With the contest taken care of, let's jump into my month of July. July was already kind of a weird month because I was nearing the end of a book deadline, so I didn't have that much time. So that means I'm a lot more selective about what I'm reading, and I'm a little bit slower to give more time to a book that is starting off slow. That being said, I had two do not finishes. My first one was Midnight Texas by Charlene Harris. I got roped in, like a lot of my friends did, when I saw the preview for the television show, which looked really, really good. But as I was reading the books, I couldn't get into it. I was 100 pages in and nothing had really happened. It was just a lot of details about things I didn't feel like we needed to know, like the character's daily routine. And I just had to give up on it because I was so pressed for time. If you've read the book the whole way through and you think that I should give it another chance, let me know. What was your thoughts on it? I'm really curious. Was it worth the wait for it to pick up? Some books are like that. My second book, which I had a hard time with, was Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I've heard really, really good things about it. I was excited to read it, but I couldn't get into it. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for that kind of a story, and for some reason the format of it, because it is, if you haven't read it before, written in the form of the main character writing letters to an anonymous person, I couldn't get into it. I don't think I got more than 25 pages in it and I just had to stop, and I've sort of told myself that I would try to pick it up later. Am I the only person who did not finish that book or who wasn't enjoying it? I feel like the only person on the planet who was not all about the story. I'm really interested and I'd love to hear your opinions below. And now let's jump into my 3 reading challenge list I was working on. The first one is my graphic novel and comic/manga reading challenge. The goal of that is to read at least 12 of those this year. I'm also working on the Bad Boys of Romance reading challenge. Goal of that is to read at least 10 books that feature bad boys. My third one that I actively worked on was Spooks, Fangs, and Fur reading challenge, which again was 10 or more books during the year featuring, well, obviously Spooks, Fangs, and Fur. So those were the 3 I actively worked on. Unfortunately, I didn't get to join in on the really popular reading challenges like the Bibliothon because with my deadline, there was no way. So I'm looking forward to doing that next year. If you did that this year, what was your experience like? Did you enjoy it? Did you end up discovering any new reads with that? I would love to hear about it. I'm trying to catch up with all of my favorite vloggers right now and comment because it looks like a lot of fun. Now, let's hop into the rest of my July experience. I read The Librarian by Christy Sloat. I have a discussion about it below, so I'm not going to go into it too much. It was an excellent young adult featuring time traveling aspects and a coming of age novel because you do have a character who has a lot of growth in it. I really enjoyed it and would highly recommend it. Next, I read Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I had been trying to get a hold of this book forever for my library, so I was really anticipating it and it lived up to the hype. It was an amazing retelling of Cinderella. I love the take that she took with it as far as having androids and then being set in futuristic Beijing, China. I love that the main character was Asian because I don't see that very often. I really enjoyed this story. I enjoyed the mystery. I enjoyed the twists and turns. There were some things I saw coming and then I thought it was wrong and it ended up being that I was right in the end. This was an excellent read. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to reading the next book in the series, which I believe is Crest. I read Love or Mine by J.R. Ward. Again, I really enjoyed it. This was one of those stories I felt like I was waiting a really long time for because I really wanted to see Jean get his happily ever after. So seeing him go through that process was bittersweet because he did get bitter and really hard because he'd just been left too much due to just sort of these tragic things happening to him and him losing the people he cared about most. So I was like brokenhearted, but then she built me back up as he worked through his romance with Zex. I really hope that I am not murdering her name. I might have been, but hey, she's an alien. It's okay if her name's a little weird. I really enjoyed that one. I read it in one sitting. Again, I'm catching up with that series right now, so you will see me reading a lot of J.R. Ward's. Finally, I may be one of the last people on the planet, but I have finally gotten to A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Loved it. I had really hyped this up in my head because I'd heard so many things about it, and then I was kind of wary because there were some people who really slammed it. I tried to go into it with an open mind, and it exceeded my expectations. I really enjoyed it. I always enjoy when the main character is the one who steps up for her family. So that was enjoyable. Feyre, I thought she was a really good lead character. I enjoyed her. I liked that she had flaws. She wasn't just perfect. But I was frustrated with her in some aspects because she made some sort of, if this was a horror movie, I would say too stupid to live decisions. And like maybe once was okay, but then it was like twice and then another time, and you were sort of wondering why she wasn't learning from her mistakes. But you could see that it moved the story forward. So I enjoyed it, but then there were points where I was a little bit irritated by it. I really loved the world that she created. I enjoyed seeing the Fae and being on the other side of the wall. I love the history that the Fae had with the humans, where the wall separates them and they're not supposed to cross over. I liked that both places had so much going on. You had things going on in the city, and then you also had the fairies having their own problems. I really had a great time with that. I really loved Tamlin and seeing them sort of progress. I don't want to spoiler it, but at the same time, I almost feel like it would be hard to because probably everybody's read it. I really enjoyed this. This was my first experience with Sarah J. Maas, which ended up leading me to reading the second book because I wanted to know what happened next. So I added A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas to my reading list unexpectedly. It had everything that I felt A Court of Thorns and Roses lacked. It had more character growth. It had more character detail. We learned more about who all of these people were, why they reacted the way they did. Lucien was one of my favorite characters. We got to see more from him in this book, even though I wanted even more than that. It changed my thoughts on Lysander in a way that I didn't think was possible. I mean, my mind was really blown by the way I felt about him after the second book. Also, really upset with Tamlin and frustrated with him. It blew holes into what I thought was just this epic love story between Feyre and Tamlin. Again, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but I thought everything in this was fantastic. And then she expanded the world and we got to learn more about what was going on. And I loved it. I loved the lore and the myth, and she took us to so many different places. I couldn't put this book down. I was up way too late reading it. Really enjoyed it. This was so far my favorite in the series. I do have the next book in the series on my TBR for this month. I'm almost frightened to see how it's going to wrap though, because for me, I really enjoyed the first one, but there were things that made it kind of mad for me. Love the second one, and there's so much controversy on the last book. I'm hoping that it won't ruin the entire series. So I'm really trying to go into it with an open mind. If you've already read these two books, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Who were your favorite characters in these books? How did you feel going from book 1 to book 2? Should I be scared for the next book? Or should I not listen to the hype? Love to hear your thoughts below on that. I picked up 2 more books that I managed to squeeze in. One was written and read by Anne Bishop. Holy crap. In love with her writing and this world. In love with the main character, Jen. Wow, she is so unique unto herself, because if you can imagine someone that has been separated from the world and only has learned the very bare basics, so she understands the concept of these things, but she hasn't experienced them, and you're putting her into a new environment with werewolves and shapeshifters and vampires, and she approaches them with this sort of innocence I don't think anybody who had grown up in that world would feel. It was very interesting seeing her and then learning her backstory of why she ran away. Blew my mind. There are maybe 6 more novels at least in this series, which is the others, and I can't wait to read all of them because it's absolutely fascinating. If you've never read Anne Bishop, I highly recommend her. Now, the downside of this book were there were slow parts. I did kind of want to rush through some of them. I thought some of them maybe weren't necessary. But other than that, I really enjoyed this book. The last book that I read unexpectedly was, I went ahead and did it. It was Origin by Jennifer Armentrout from the Lux series. I have to tell you, I didn't hate it. I was really wary, but I really actually kind of enjoyed the take and the whole concept of these aliens that were hidden, not only like coming out, but then finding out that it wasn't what we thought it was. That maybe the Department of Defense weren't the bad guys. The way that they went about it was horrible, but perhaps they had reason to be concerned. I really enjoyed it. Pleasantly surprised by it. Also like the growth between the 2 characters where they both grew individually. So it wasn't just that homogeneous thing where this couple was just one thing throughout the whole novel, and the thing that you liked just goes to crap because it's just too much of them together and you can't see them as individuals. That didn't do this. They grew separately and then came back together, and Kate really stood on her own. Like, I've been through this experience. I'm not a child. I'm not someone to be protected, and we're in this together, and I really appreciated that. I thought that that set this book apart from a lot of the YAs that have those long romances in them. Really enjoyed this book. That was my July in all its craziness. I am currently still under a deadline, which is up next Wednesday, but I'm close to my revisions, so I think I'll be good. I'm going to do some mass filming now, so I'm going to be rocking this casual outfit for the next couple that you see. Again, thank you so much for following me. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for that next contest I'll be doing to celebrate 103 subscribers. I'm really having a blast. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.